We are now some 300 delegates behind Vice President Biden, and the path toward victory is virtually impossible.
We all remember Dem leadership kneecapping Bernie in 2016. But it's been 16 years since they did the same thing to another hopeful progressive candidate running against the leadership anointed in 2004. Remember Howard Dean? Here's how they killed his campaign.
You know something? Not only are we going to New Hampshire, Tom Harkin, we're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. We're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Ah!
Did you notice the gaffe? Young voters might not know about the Dean Scream. Howard Dean was a medical doctor turned politician who promised healthcare reform. During the 2004 primary, political commentators proclaimed the Dean Scream evidence he was unpresidential. Dr. Dean's bellowing signifies an out-of-control temperament at the head of a failing campaign. John Kerry was the DNC establishment-backed candidate argued to be a stronger choice against incumbent wartime President George W. Bush due to his military service in Vietnam. That didn't work out too well.
He dishonored his country and, more importantly, the people he served with.
Kerry voted for the Iraq War, opposed it, supported it, and now opposes it again.
Today, I spoke to President Bush and I offered him and Laura our congratulations on their victory.
What do you think they'll do to Joe Biden? It won't be pretty.
Why doesn't he just act like a president? That's a stupid way to say it.
You know, Donald Trump was asked on...
I'm Jill Biden's husband, and I work for Cedric Richmond.
Sorry.
Lack of health care is a life or death issue for many Americans.
When 87 million people are uninsured or underinsured, when 30,000 people are dying each year because they don't get to a doctor when they should, and when 500,000 people are going bankrupt because of the dysfunctional and cruel system that we currently have.
But instead of meaningful policy, we get only circuses without the bread.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of America!
These aren't the best leaders America can produce. They're the worst. Why? In the same way GOP insiders are dependent on fossil fuel industry patrons, Democratic Party insiders are dependent on healthcare and pharmaceutical industry patronage. It isn't the corporate donations for election campaigns that seems to matter, because large donations made of small private contributions doesn't change policy. Public opinion doesn't change policy. Mass public donations doesn't even change policy. It seems the only way to really affect policy is by promising elected officials and their staff high-paying jobs, insider stock trades, or appointments at lucrative positions on corporate boards of directorships. It's a corporate patronage cycle, buying legislation and regulatory policy with untraceable favors. Strip away the euphemism, And it's just plain bribery. The lesson here is, it's a mistake to believe our politicians primarily care about campaign donations and re-election. Never mind some Capper-esque Mr. Smith Goes to Washington fantasy about enacting good policy or performing genuine public service.
No, sir, I will not yield.
These days, they only care about filling their own personal bank accounts. We must confront an essential truth. We, the people, and by that I mean actual living U.S. citizens, have been stripped of all meaningful representation by those business interests who control government throughout both parties. They treat the public like a tennis ball, batting us back and forth across the court of the body politic from one party to the next while bleeding the U.S. Treasury and citizenry dry. And so, in the midst of plenty, we have become a people beset by deprivation and poverty. But now is not the time for passive hopelessness.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
For this isn't some mere ideological battle. Problems today are an existential threat to human life itself. Not in some far-flung future. Our lives, yours and mine, today. There's little time and literally everything is at stake.